They told you the rum's Titanic sinking was a tragic accident. An unsinkable ship that met an unfortunate iceberg. But what if the real story is darker than that? What if many of the deaths were preventable? 030 The illusion of unsinkable. The Titanic wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of human pride. Built by the White Star Line, it was marketed as one of the safest vessels ever created. People believed it couldn't sink. And that belief, it made everyone careless. Because when you think something is invincible, you stop preparing for the worst. 130 The lifeboat lie. Here's the first dark truth. The Titanic didn't have enough lifeboats. Not even close. There were over 2,200 people on board. The lifeboats for only about half. Why? Because lifeboats made the deck look cluttered. They didn't fit the luxury image. So instead of prioritizing safety, they prioritized appearance. Let that sink in. 230 Warnings ignored. On the night of the disaster, multiple ships sent iceberg warnings. One after another. But many of those warnings never reached the bridge. Or were untaken seriously. The Titanic kept moving too fast for icy waters. Why? Because speed mattered. Arriving early in New York City would make headlines. It would prove dominance. So even with danger ahead, they didn't slow down enough. 345 Class meant survival. This is where the story gets uncomfortable. Who survived? Often depended on who you were. First-class passengers had better access to lifeboats. They were closer to the deck. They were prioritized. Meanwhile, many third-class passengers were stuck below. Some didn't even understand what was happening. Others were delayed by barriers and confusion. The result, a massive gap in survival rates between rich and poor. This wasn't just a disaster. It was a reflection of society. 5 o'clock lifeboats left half empty. Here's something even more disturbing. Many lifeboats were unfilled. Some left with dozens of empty seats. Why? Fear. Confusion. Poor leadership. People didn't realize how serious the situation was. Until it was too late. So while hundreds remained on the ship, boats drifted away half empty into the night. 6:15 The band that played on. You've probably heard the story. The musicians kept playing as the ship sank. It's often told as something heroic. And maybe it was. But it also served another purpose. To keep people calm. To delay panic. Because once panic starts, control is lost. So even as death became inevitable, the illusion of normalcy continued. 7:30 The real cause. Human decisions. The iceberg didn't doom the Titanic. People did. Not enough lifeboats. Ignored warnings. Dangerous speed. Class inequality. Poor evacuation decisions. Each one alone might not have caused disaster. But together, they turned a collision into a catastrophe. 8:45 The aftermath. Over 1,500 people died that night. And only after the tragedy did safety laws finally change. Ships were required to carry enough lifeboats. Emergency procedures improved. But it came at a cost. A massive, preventable cost. 9:30 Final thought. The Titanic isn't just a story about a ship. It's a story about us. About overconfidence. About inequality. About ignoring warnings until it's too late. And maybe the darkest truth of all. If placed in the same situation, we might not act any differently.